Hey there, sweet friends. This is Gina. Welcome to the Rebookery channel and welcome to Finding Your Style Too. Today we are going to work on episode 5, In the Background. So where we left off was with lesson number 4, episode number 4, where we dug our fears out. We talked about how maybe they weren't fears necessarily, but they were hesitations. They were maybe insecurities. They were things that would cause you to get hung up when you were trying to create. So this was an exercise that I came up with, oh my gosh, probably 8 years ago was the first time I did it. Since then, I have done it a couple of times just to get it out of my head. Think of this as like you're purging. You are purging these self-doubts, these little naggy things that build up in your brain, and they cause you to freeze up when you go to create. And so just like cleaning out your closets and stuff, you know, at your house, you have to do this every once in a while. This is like maintenance. So the way I did it was I took my paper that I had written all my fears on. I stuck my paper in a place in my house where I would be able to see it daily. As I went through my time, my days, my daily routine, I would see that stupid piece of paper with all of my fears and insecurities and doubts. I would see it over and over and over again. And while I didn't stop and look at it, it was just the glance that I would take. It was just enough to trigger that in my brain, and I would process through it as I was looking at it, and I didn't even mean to do it. It would just happen. I would look at that and I would see a word, maybe criticism was one of the words that I wrote down, and then it would just kind of spiral some thoughts in my head, and I would kind of work through that, not even really realizing I was working through it. And then one day I walked past it and I was like, okay, I'm done. You got to go. And it was time to remove that piece of paper and to remove those fears. I had had enough of it. I had seen enough. I had processed it. I had mulled over all of the things I'd written down. And I was like, okay, I am so done with this. It needs to go away. That's where this episode right here, or this lesson right here, came into play. I needed to do something to get rid of those fears and to put them in their place. So there's 2 parts to this lesson. The first part is to take your paper, your graphic organizer that you made for fear, place it someplace in your house or wherever, your car, wherever you will be able to see it. You know, you want to be able to see it almost daily, if not daily. And then you're just going to leave it there and let it do its thing. You don't have to make yourself do anything. You will not even realize it, but you will start to think and process over this as you see it. The more you see it, the more it will trigger little things in your brains, and you're gonna be like, I'm so done with lack of ability. I'm tired of seeing those words on that piece of paper. I'm tired of it. And you will get to that point where you're like, okay, over it. It's time to go. I need to move on. When you get to that point, you're going to take your paper down and you're going to do what I'm going to do in this lesson called In the Background. And this is a great way, for me, this was a great tactile way for me to take all those insecurities, all those doubts, all those hesitations, and put them where they belong. Back in the recesses of my brains. They don't need my brains. I keep talking like there's plural brains here. Sorry, my brain. They don't need to be in the foreground. Your hesitations and doubts are probably sitting right there at the front of your brain right now, and you don't need it there. You need to put those things where they belong. Yes, you're still going to have those nagging little sensations. I mean, that's just part of creating, but you can put them in their place. And this is a great way. This is a very, tactile and visual way to take these fears and push them aside. So I'm going to speed up my process, and I'm going to show you guys how I actually got rid of these and put them in their place. So taking my paper that I had written on, I'm now going to just grab some just random smaller papers. They can be book pages, they can be magazines, they can be any wrapping paper, whatever it is you want to use. I am not going to use anything too precious on this. These are all things that I just have in my stash and I may or may not like. So I'm not going for artistic value on this. I just need papers and things to cover up my fears. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take all of these random bits and I'm going to literally cover up all of the words that I have on this paper. And as I do it, it's kind of symbolic. It's like taking the windows of a house and boarding them up. I'm literally covering these guys up because they don't have permission to hang out in my brain anymore when I'm creating. I need these guys to go away. So this is going to be very therapeutic, or hopefully it'll be very therapeutic. It was for me. And it's going to take some time. This probably real time took, I'm going to say, an hour or two, because I did a lot of thinking while I was covering these guys up. A lot of times I'll create with music and stuff going on. When I did this process, I didn't do any music. I actually was sitting outside. So this was me sitting outside and just kind of slapping papers down, and I didn't think about where anything went. I didn't care, about placement. Things were upside down, right side up. I just was tearing paper and covering up the fears and the words and the sentiments that I had written. Another great thing about this process is that you can use, just if you have a bunch of random papers, maybe you have some junk mail, maybe you have some leftovers from another project. This is a great way to use those scraps. And so I'm going to use something that I have a lot of just left over from my old scrapbooking days, alphabet stickers, and I'm just plopping down letters. Don't worry about where things go. Don't worry about if it's making any meaning. I am not trying to tell a story here at all. So this is just plopping things down, using up your scraps, taking your time, doing some thinking. I like using masking tape and tearing it into small pieces. What that does is it just adds a great texture, and then it also adds a bit of like sturdiness to the paper. So I like doing that. So I added a lot of that. So I'm going to continue on with this. I'm going to cover up as much as I possibly can, and then I'm going to take this paper and turn it into something else in the next episode. So I hope you guys got some inspiration today. I hope you did some good thinking today about those stupid nagging fears. I hope you are healthy. I hope you are happy, and I hope you do something creative today. I will see you in the next episode. Bye.